Hi everyone, it's time for Drawing with Jenny again. I hope you're all doing well. So we are back in the book of Ruth. We're in the last chapter, and we are going to find out what happens to Ruth and Boaz. You might remember from last week that um, Ruth made her intentions to Boaz clear. She wanted to marry him. And so now we're going to continue this story. If you would like to follow along, we're going to be reading from verse 1 to verse 12 of chapter 4 today. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, "Come aside, friend, sit down here." So he came aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the city elders and said, "Sit down here." So they sat down. Then he said to the close relative, "Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech." And before we go much further, I did want to talk about the interaction between Boaz and the other man. We're not told his name, but their interaction is very respectful. People seem to know who Boaz is, and they do what he says. They don't fight with him. They don't disrespect him. He says, "Come and sit down," and okay. And remember from last week, Ruth also was very respectful to Boaz and did what he said. And Boaz is a type of Christ, and so this is a good lesson for us that when Jesus says do something, we should also do it in a like manner. We're not always going to do that perfectly, but we can strive for that by His grace. And now we're in verse 3, I believe. Then he said to the close, oh no, we already did read that. Verse 4. And I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. And he said, I will redeem it. So even this interaction is very respectful. Boaz isn't coercing the man to buy it back, or he just says, if you can, do it. If you can't, just tell me. It's very respectful. And people in today's world could learn a lot from the interactions in these verses. So here is verse 5. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. So in those times when a couple was married and the man died and the couple did not have children, the brother of the man would marry the widow and help that widow bring forth children to carry on the name of the dead brother. So that's not done today, but that's how it was done in those days. And so this is the man's reply. Now we're at verse 4-6. And the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. So this man did not want to pass along his inheritance to a son. He wanted his inheritance. So he had ended up not wanting to go through with this. So now this was the custom in former times, here's more customs of former times, in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm anything, one man took off his sandal and gave it to the other, and this was confirmation in Israel. And that definitely isn't done today. These days, people go to lawyers and have paper signed. We don't take off our sandals or shoes. So that just shows the differences that can exist from one time to another. And now we're in verse 48. Therefore the close relative said to Boaz, buy it yourself. So he took off his sandal. And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, the name of the dead that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day." So in the King James Version, this is a New King James Version, but in the King James Version, for the word required, the word bought is used. And I like that better because Boaz is saying, I have bought my wife, which doesn't sound very good to us. I know, because in our culture, we don't buy our wife, or if we're a man, we don't buy our wife. But that was that is how the wording was in those days. But what is really interesting about the King James Version, where it says uses the word bought, and remember that Boaz is a type of Christ. In the New Testament, it says that Christ bought us, and with his blood, not his bud, his blood. He bought us with his blood, and so. And he bought us with his blood. One reason is so that we could share the gospel with others, and so that the name of those who believe may not be cut off. So there's definitely, I can't think of the word, correlation maybe, but I love how scripture, runs together and is seamless from start to finish. So now we're in verse 11. And all the people who were at the gate and the elders said, "We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, the two who built the house of Israel, and may you prosper in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem." And we know that Jesus is from Bethlehem as well. So that's really interesting, isn't it? Verse 12 says, May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, I'm having trouble talking, because of the offspring which the Lord will give you from this woman. And if you wanted to, the descendants of Boaz and Ruth are listed in Matthew 1, verses 2 to 6. And did you know that Boaz is part of the lineage of Christ? So down the line, Christ came through Boaz's line eventually. That's pretty neat, isn't it? So I hope you've liked this lesson. You're welcome to pause now and draw what you would like to from what we've read today. And if you wanted to share your drawing with me, I would sure love to see it. And assuming you have done that, I will show you what I've drawn. It's very simple. I think we mentioned last week that Ruth is really a book about relationships. There's a lot of relationships in the book of Ruth, and they all seem to be very good. They seem to be very good relationships, very respectful. People are treated respectfully, and there's not a lot of strife, it seems. So anyway, today's drawing, I have here the two men. I think this must be Boaz. I think Boaz is the one who offers this. I know it said sandal, but at first I was reading from the King James Version and it says shoe. So this is the shoe that's being taken off, and between the two men. And I mean, I could have drawn the 10 elders looking on. I could have drawn a lot more, but I just kept it really, really simple today. Actually, this whole series has been pretty simple drawings, hasn't it? So, and I did want to say that I will be away next weekend, so I may do 2 lessons this week, or I might be late on next week's lesson. I'm not exactly sure yet how that's going to work, but I won't get us too far behind, and we will pick up with the rest of chapter 4 of Ruth next time. So I hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye for now.